welcome back to the Jac and Glen channel. I'm Jackie.
I'm my husband, Glenn.
He's my husband, Glenn.
Hey, before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews.
Yep. Make sure you check out the links in the description because we got some specials for you.
Good.
The usuals, but they're still special.
Hey, ready to love. Ready to love. This week, the men are in charge. The men get to send a lady home.
Yeah.
Get to send a lady home. The men start off ready to love. They meet with Nephew Tommy. And Nephew Tommy told them this is going to be a special week. They still should be able to date ladies throughout the week. But somewhere in the middle of the week, they're going to have a big masquerade ball in a nice mansion in Houston. And guess what? You're going to have to start taking your mask off.
Taking off the mask.
Taking off the mask. And we see that there is the first date we see out of the gate was a couple's date. We saw Jason and Alexis. And we saw Kyra and AJ.
Yeah. And they both like each other.
Yeah, they look
the two guys like the two girls.
I'm going to use what
Nephew
Tommy called last year. It is a square.
Yeah.
It is a square.
A love square.
It is a love.
Well, we ain't a love yet.
It is a love.
It's a light square.
It's a light square. But nonetheless, it's a square. And so we see AJ was like, you know what? He really likes Kyra. He said he appreciates the fact that she's giving him a chance to do it over.
Yes.
A redo. Because we know they call him El Cheapo or Cheapskate.
Well, yeah, she said amongst her friends, he is known as El Cheapo.
Yeah, because they went out on a date earlier. He went to try to pay for the date, and nothing was on his card. Nothing was on his card, so she ended up paying for the date. But nonetheless, he said he really likes her, and the fact that she's forgiving and giving him a second chance is really big with him. And he really appreciates that. And they went ice skating.
Yes.
In Houston. An ice skating ring. I don't know. I'm just saying, he knew how to ice skate. But I think the interesting...
Well, Kyra really knew, though. They were like, oh, shucks.
Yeah, she could really get down. She could really go. But the interesting thing on this date was Jason and Alexis.
Yeah, because we know Alexis is feeling Jason.
Yeah.
When he was her son's coach, she was feeling him. And so they're trying to, let that little thing blossom. But Jason confessed to her, basically, he was like, honestly, I'm having a hard time going from one of the kids that I coach mom to a romantic interest. And he had to break it to her.
Yeah, he had to tell her. And she was feeling that there wasn't no type of romantic vibe as well. So she understood that. She wanted to go out with Jason one more time just to see if there was a spark. And I think there could be a spark, but it's awkward.
Yeah. It
is awkward to go from coach to now maybe stepdad or whatever case may be. I mean, we're not telling them they're going that far, but it's to be mom's romantic interest. It is different because now you got to explain to the son. Now, not only that, you have to deal with other parents. It's a lot to deal with, just the fact that, much more than the fact that he likes Alexis.
Well, yeah, and her start to that conversation was, how would you feel coming into a relationship with a female with children? Walking into that role. And that's how we got to you're one of my players' moms.
Yeah, he just wasn't feeling her. I mean, but I like the fact that he was honest with her. He didn't lead her on. That they had the conversation. Yeah. He was like, you know what? I got to be transparent with you. This is how I'm feeling. And she was like, oh, okay. I don't come to lose. I'm always here to win. Yeah,
but she was like, okay, I get it.
I get it.
Thanks for letting me know.
And Jason shared with everyone else that Kyra was on his list. So
which we knew from the green dress.
Yeah, we knew that from the green dress that Kyra was on his list. Another day that we saw Tressa and Papa.
He said he was going to take her to not the spice bar, but
to sample some spices,
or
to smell spices.
To smell spices or whatever. And epic fail. I was hoping they would hit it off.
He just felt like she was still like the homie, the friend vibe. There was no romance. And she felt that too. So let's not say it was just one way. She felt
no.
She felt like he really wasn't genuinely interested in her, because she said if he was interested in her that he would be more kind of aggressive. That she wanted a guy who would be more.
Well, he pretty much said that too. He was like, if a guy's interested in you, it's not gonna be no guessing about it. He's really dropping hints to her like, not interested now. I tried it. I guess his type really changed. It really has changed.
I think he is, but it's like she's not giving. I think it's both ways. He's not giving off the aggressive vibe, she's not giving off the non-homie vibe, and I don't think she's giving off the homie vibe. I think they both looking for somebody to be aggressive in the relationship, and it wasn't working. He didn't feel that the laughter that they would have with intimate, it was just more like, hey, ha ha ha, he good. You know, she wasn't hanging all over him and wasn't doing that thing for him. So he was like, hey, it was nice. They were still friendly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, they were still friendly. We learned something about some imitation vanilla. I don't buy that stuff. Anyway. But,
I mean, what would you be buying it for? You don't cook nothing that you need vanilla for.
Oh, I do. I cook.
I said you don't cook anything that you need vanilla flavoring for.
Yeah, but if
that would be baked goods.
Oh, well, I can throw that out. I can bake. I just haven't baked anything because you do such a great job.
So you try to fix it up.
No, I'm not trying to fix it up. You do such a great job baking. Why should I bake? But anyway, fake vanilla.
I never seen that.
Wait,
but okay.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you never said... Girl, don't let me bake a cake again and show y'all. I might do a video of me baking a cake.
No,
but I can,
no, next.
Anyway, they were not feeling each other in the spice bar. They felt each other.
That hurt my feelings because we haven't really seen anybody with Dietrich. We haven't really seen anybody with Tressa. And I felt like from their last interaction that it would be something, but
he just wasn't. He just didn't get those vibes.
No.
And so she wasn't. And again, it wasn't just him not getting the vibe. She didn't get it as well because she should have felt like I should be getting more from you, and you should be leading me more. We should have much more interest in this conversation and what we're doing, and we're not. So we saw that, but we also saw Chris. I'm not gonna say KG Smooth. We saw Chris and Amber.
Yes.
Chris and Amber. Chris was doing some meditation outside, and the sun was beaming on him, and made me think about the season he was on previously, where him and Nia was sitting there and had their shoes off and the feet in the grass.
Yeah.
Early on, but Amber enjoys Chris's company. She's into meditation as well. He's giving her some things to say. To kind of build her confidence up and to release energy and to get into the whole meditation mode.
But a little bit, she felt like she was Tina Turner, Nam Myoho, Ringe Kyo. She was like, it feels a little, I feel like that's what you're going to tell me to say next.
Yeah. but it was sweet though, because he was sweet. He was even helped her get down because the dress that she had on was a little short. He was trying to help her and cover up. But they had an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And the interesting conversation I thought was real interesting. Chris talked about, he's on the show for Ready to Love, but he's really not here for marriage.
Yeah, he said he's not really hung up on that.
If marriage happens, it's cool, but he could be in a long-term relationship and be just as cool. And the way they did
long-term committed relationship.
Long-term committed relationship. But you brought up a valid point. Isn't marriage a long-term committed relationship? And when you said it, I'm like, you know what? Marriage is a long-term committed relationship.
It is.
So you might as well just go ahead and get married. And it comes with legal benefits.
It does.
There's a lot of legal benefits to when you're being married to somebody than you just being in a relationship with somebody for a long term. Anything can happen. Liability. You get sick or you're on life support. They can't make a decision for you. Or when it comes to the dividing of the house or property and different things, and you're not married, it just gets shaky. It gets shaky when that marriage thing is not there and you're just in a long committed relationship. But I was surprised that Amber said she feels the same way.
I was absolutely surprised by that. I was like, sis, okay.
But I think a lot of it goes with their background, where they're from. We found out last week that Chris' dad had 11 children with 9 different women.
Yeah.
We found out that Amber just realized and found out her family. Her family came and had like different kids. So again, when you have people who, and just my perception, that have really no solid foundation or haven't seen any successful marriages or being present or being within around that in a long time, marriage is not important to them. And when you find people who grew up in a household where they've seen successful marriages or they've seen marriage which is real good or even marriage that's been bad, marriage is something that they want to do. So I think with them two not being able to see in their life marriages that was really successful, seeing that, I think that's why it's good to have that long, they want to have be able to do the long committed relationship more so than marriage, which again, marriage is a long-term committed relationship. Just say I do, put some rings on, go to the courthouse, call it a day.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a big ceremony. You really don't have to do all that extra stuff. You're saying, I love you, I'm going to be committed to you for the rest of my life, I'm going to be committed to you for the rest of your life. Okay, cool, let's get married and make it legal.
Yeah, that conversation just threw me. It really did.
Yeah, that conversation was...
Something about that marriage license be scaring y'all.
Be scaring folks.
Scaring y'all people off. Not y'all, but I mean people. That marriage license be really scaring people.
People sign for 9 years and don't get married.
It's the same thing. If you're together for 10, 11 years...
Get married. And
might as well.
Might as well. Make it legal. Then we saw Stacy and Ron.
Yes.
Stacy and Ron have a date as well. Stacy comes over to Ron's place. Ron shows her around. He didn't do it through the Troy thing. You know, didn't by not showing anybody around his house, which people believe that wasn't Troy's house. You figured out. But Ron shows Stacy around the house. They have a conversation. At dinner, Stacy like, oh, you can fix dinner for me. And Ron was like, he ain't try to play it off.
He said, no, he was honest. He was like, I purchased dinner for you. Yes. I heard you, he said, I heard Stacy like seafood. So I got her some seafood, hoping to bring the little Creole out in her.
Bring a little Creole out.
And she looked like she enjoyed it.
Then we learned a little bit.
The conversation.
We learned a little bit more about Stacy.
Yes.
We learned Stacy was married before.
Yes.
We learned Stacy's
on. Well, we knew that from before.
We knew that before.
But what we found out was that
she's on the show for her kids.
But she has 3 kids. She didn't say their ages, but she's got 3 kids, and her kids really want her
to find love.
I think before she said she was married for 17 years.
She was married for a while.
And we found out on this episode that she's been divorced for 4 years. Mm-hmm. So it's really her kids. It's like, mommy, go find some love.
Find some love.
Yeah.
And so, in the midst of the dinner and that conversation, the conversation was good, but then it takes a side turn. Mm-hmm. We find out that Stacy has a best friend. Yeah.
That she didn't have before the show started.
That she didn't have before the show started. And they're freaking frack.
Already.
And they're real tight. They talk every day. But you're trying to find love. And you're finding a friend. I'm not understanding. I'm just saying.
But Joel said that. The show is not, in the end, it's not just about finding love, but you can find brotherly and sisterly love.
And she found a nice friend.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be to the point where it gets in the way of...
Because Xanthium is in a way of her relationship because now...
And that's another person that Ron is interested in.
Another person that Ron is interested
in both of them.
And so she asked, who's your number one? Mm-hmm. Is it me? Or...
Is it Chris?
And Ron started stuttering there. He started backing up a little bit. He was like,
but she kind of forced his hand too.
She did. She forced his hand.
Make me pick.
She caught him off guard.
Yeah.
And she caught him off guard, and she made him pick. And guess what? He picked Chris. Which we come to find out a little bit later, she's not really his number one either.
No.
Because he said, when he asked later on, his number one was Alexis.
Yeah, and we find out they had a video from the women's group meeting with Tommy where Alexis said, Ron said that I was his number one.
Ron said that he was number one. So Ron done had some, we thought Ron was a quiet guy because we ain't see much of him. Ron was making moves.
He was a sleeper. He
was making a move on Stacy, Chris, and Alexis. So now, Stacy feels some type of way. But she ain't gonna look out. She gonna look out for herself, and she gonna look out for a girl. Mm-hmm. So she gonna look out for Constantine. Okay, let her know that, hey, you know what? I'm out. You're number one right now. Yes. But somehow Constantine finds out that Alexis is Ron's number one.
From when they were in the group setting.
When they was in a group setting. So now we get to the point where Ron organizes a date.
Yes, salsa
dancing, and he's the instructor.
Yes.
Ron's the instructor because Ron likes to salsa dance. Ron, I salsa a little bit on my nachos. Yeah, the dance thing, nah. Anyway, Ron. So we see Ron and Constantine. Uh-huh. We see Venetia and Joel. Mm-hmm. And we see Dietrich and Tressa. And Ron is in there showing them and
this was actually before they went to the Spice thing.
Yeah, this is actually before they went to the Spice thing. But I wanted to get to the couple thing,
Yeah.
So before they went to the Spice thing. And so Ron he said he likes sexy salsa.
Uh-huh.
Accentuated salsa. Where there's a lot of touchy-feely type thing in the midst of salsa dancing. So he was teaching some moves in salsa dancing. And then he organized and he lets Tressa and Dietrich go into one room.
Yeah, because he showed them some moves. Why don't you try this?
Yep.
couple of the men was looking kind of stupid. What Joel and Dietrich was looking a little bit stiff.
A little bit stiff. Look, it's the new dance that they didn't do like my man Vincent did. They ain't pout, they ain't cry, they ain't get mad, they ain't get upset. I know that's Married at First Sight, but they ain't go still. They ain't do what he did. They was down with it. All right, they was down with it. He puts them in a room, go work on it, and then we see Joel and Venetia having a good time.
Yeah,
working it out, doing
yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. And so he's working it out. They're doing this little salsa dancing with each other. They really feel each other. This couple right here, I think they match, and I think they're gonna make. They both have similar backgrounds when it comes to their children and relationships.
But I just hope, like Chris with the K, that don't put all your eggs in one basket and get disappointed. I don't think that'll happen with the two of them, but
I don't think he's putting all his eggs in one basket. I think he has a number one and number two, but we just see him with her right now.
Yeah.
I think we see him with her, and they're really feeling each other. They're really having a good time with each other, and they interact very well. He's like, this just feels right. Mm-hmm. He was like, this just feels right.
Yeah.
And she was like, it just feels right for her too. So again, hopefully that couple will go on.
I love it.
We saw Tressa and Dietrich, before the Spice thing. They had a nice little interaction, a little dance. I was just worried he won't step on her feet. They kept showing pictures of her feet, and I'm like, this dude's about to step on her toes, and we're about to have a bad moment here.
He don't look like that much of a dancer. Like he's having a hard time.
And it didn't happen. But again, this was the Ron week. Yes. Because Ron and Chris was having a conversation, and she brought up the whole Alexis.
Am I still your number one? Have I been moved?
Have I been moved? And I don't like being. I don't like being number two. Again, she heard from Alexis, but she also heard from Stacy.
Yes.
Stacy did again. They freaking fracked. She went back and told. He said his number one. She's like, hold on, how can I be his number one if Alexis is number one? So Ron there. Again, don't like being back in the corner.
My man. That's what I say.
They backed him in the corner. He don't like being back in the corner, so he got to make a decision. And he told her, you're not my number one right now. Alexis is my number one. We have conversation. And Chrysanthemum felt some type of way.
Did she?
She was like, I'm never number two.
You gonna have to pick.
I bumped him up because after our date, I moved him up out of my number. Moved him up the list.
Only to find out I moved down the list.
Only find out that I moved down the list. It beats that way. I don't know why they get so caught up. I don't know why they get so caught up in being a number one. You just want to be somebody's 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Because if somebody's 1 and 2, that means you get moved on a little bit longer on the show. If you're just somebody's 1, right? And to me, it seems like that's the only person feeling you. Seem like you go home. So if you're like if you're in a relationship with multiple people, not relationship, but if you're having a conversation with multiple people and multiple people are feeling you, to me that sees what keeps you around.
Yeah.
So you want to build these relationships. Don't feel mad when you're number 2. You do some things to get you back to number 1. Mm-hmm. Just because you're number 2 in the middle of the race, don't mean you won't be number 1 at the end.
Right.
Message. I just didn't get it with you. They've been complaining a lot about number 2. All right. And moving to number 1. So we see that. Then we hear it's time for Masquerade Ball time.
Yes.
The women get to dress up. And
guys got to bring it too.
Guys got to bring it too, as Nephew Tommy said it. They both got to bring it, get dressed up. And my man David said earlier that he likes to see a woman when she's dressed up.
Yes.
Because he goes to a lot of these functions and he wants to see how they clean up, basically. And so we see the women enter in. We see the men enter in. They mingling and interacting. But there was one lady in particular. It was one woman in particular that made everything stop. She made everybody head turn. She walked through that door. Well, no, it wasn't Alexis Fly, because Alexis Fly did come in and look pretty fly.
She was like,
she bought it.
She said, I'm dressed like I'm ready for the wedding because I want them to know.
She bought it. I'm not saying, and the rest of the women, they look beautiful. They look beautiful. It was classy, but there was one.
Because it was a difference.
When she stepped out of the car, walked up the steps, and walked in the room.
She had them girls out.
Every dude in that room head turned and was like, wow, is that Liz over there? And they was like,
she had the girls out.
My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. They was like, Liz.
You gonna ignore me? Them girls be calling them the men.
Because nothing wrong.
She had the slit. It was, she had her hair. They hadn't seen Liz dressed like that.
There wasn't, and they liked what they saw. They saw a little revealing. Situation.
It was a lot of revealing.
Depends on your taste.
It was a lot of revealing.
Depends on your depends on your perspective.
for a fellow full-bosomed woman, she had a lot of reveal.
She had some.
And I'm not saying nothing wrong with it, but I'm saying when you come in there, and she said, I came in there like, you gonna look at me today, and they did, and most of that was because them bosoms was out.
No, most of that was because, as you said it earlier, it wasn't about the bosoms. It was that they hadn't seen her that way before.
Yeah, with the bosoms out.
Well, okay, I give you that. The bosoms were out. Anyway, so the guys really enjoyed it. Jason's mouth just dropped. He had to pick it up off the floor, and he had to realize, you know what? I may have to move from somebody else, and I need to find somebody else because Liz right here.
She's looking good.
She's looking good. So
he's looking good.
He still did some quiet time with Liz.
He did.
And they started having conversation, and Liz started feeling a little bit, you know, her hair and the way he moved their hair back a little bit.
She was like, why are they doing this to me? I'm torn there. Now I got a lot on my plate.
You got a lot on the plate. She told me between David and Jason now, but Jason was throwing some game at it. He was throwing, you know, the church background, the foundation, and having a conversation with her. I mean, she was really eating up what he was saying, and so Liz is in a sticky situation. Her and David is still doing very well with each other. And then we get a surprise by Nephew Tommy.
Yeah.
Nephew Tommy, not only he got somebody else with him, he brings his wife to the show. Mrs. Miles ends up being on Ready to Love. And she has an interesting conversation with Alexis.
Uh-huh.
Which I thought was good because Alexis was like, you know, what if some days you don't feel like your husband, like basically I want to be married, but do I always gotta like him, love him?
Yeah, she said I don't just want to be happy. She said like I want joy. I want to be joyful. I want it to be, you know, full. And yeah, they had a whole conversation about you don't always like your spouse every day, but you should like them most of the time.
Yeah,
and it's about the love and the love that you have for them. You know, like you can get past.
Yeah, you can always love them. I mean, you can always love them, but again, there's some days that you're not feeling.
Get on my nerves.
You get on my nerves. I'm not saying she get on my nerves. We pretty much good. There's some days that she don't get on my nerves. The majority of days she don't get on my nerves. 97.99%, 99% of the time she get on my nerves. Not just
I don't get on your nerves.
No, you don't get on my nerves. 99%.
Oh, it's like you said I do.
No, 99% of the time you don't get on my nerves. It's that 0.1% that you do. Not while we're doing these videos, though. Not at all. Not kidding. Let's move
Maybe
on.
Sometimes.
Let's move on before we get. Let's move on before I get myself in trouble.
Already in trouble.
I'm not in trouble. No.
Anyway. So yeah, Miss Jackie Miles, Jacqueline Miles.
Yeah.
She talks to a lot of the ladies.
She said she wanted to interact and see what was going on, how they was feeling the men, and how the men were feeling them. She talked to some of the guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that Tommy talked to the guys, and then he realized, and he understands about the freaking frat combination.
Yeah, everybody knows about freaking frat.
And freaking frat again is Stacy and Chrysanthemum. Chris.
Yeah, Chrysanthemum. And how AJ was like, I don't even categorize it as two of them. It's like they won.
Yeah, because they talk about they like the same men.
Mm-hmm.
They do everything together. And if you're dating one, you're gonna hear about the other one.
Yes.
So if you're dating Stacy, you're gonna hear about Chris. If you're dating Chris, you're gonna hear about Stacy, and they're all together. And Tommy even had a conversation with them like, y'all do know this is like eventually y'all gonna have to break off.
Yeah.
Like eventually you're gonna have to
especially because y'all like the same men. Somebody's gonna get picked and somebody not.
Somebody's gonna pick somebody, and they understood that.
Yeah.
They said they understood that, but again, this is where we at with the conversation with freaking frat, and nobody wants to date both of them. They're on the we realize here that these two are on the chopping block because all the men are frustrated by the fact that they're always around with each other. They're so close. That they're so close. And so, you know, the Masquerade Ball happens, the women are looking gorgeous, the fellas are looking good, and then now we get to the point where the men meet back up. And they start deliberating about who they like. Mm-hmm. Who their tops. You know, Liz's name came up a lot.
Yes.
Joel was like, yeah, well, Liz step in there, baby. Oh, man, she look good. She look good there. You know, they talked about Liz being.
She had to fix the whiplash in my neck. She turned my head. I'm still trying to put the icy hot on there.
He said my neck still hurt with a little icy hot. They talked about Amber still being in everybody's top. Yes. Liz and Amber still there. Kyra still being in everybody's top. Mm-hmm. Venetia was still in a couple people's top. Yeah. Which I was surprised because now I'm thinking, okay, Joel like Venetia. Who else likes Venetia for her to still up there? Maybe Dietrich. Because we haven't seen too many people.
We haven't seen him with nobody.
We haven't seen it with nobody on a regular basis. So, again, they talk about the top. Then they get to who is in the bottom.
Mm. And the freaking frack issue came up.
Issue comes up. Stacy name is thrown a lot. David chimes in and said, I was feeling her until we did the Pilates situation. And I
don't like the way she misconstrued the conversation we had. Misrepresented it.
Misrepresented the conversation we had. I don't like the way she went down that road. So guess what? She's not in my bottom. She's in my bottom. Ronald said he don't like the way she approached him when they had their date.
Forced his hand.
His hand. She's in the bottom. I can't remember who else was like they didn't really feel Stacy too much, but she's in the bottom. Then
it was AJ.
It was AJ. Yeah, AJ said he's not really feeling Stacy that much. Neither it comes to the bottom. And this is one that surprised me. Out of the blue, I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna put freaking frack down at the bottom. It's gonna be Stacy and Chrysanthemum, and I'm sitting here like, okay, somebody gonna throw Chrysanthemum's name out there. We talking about splitting them up. It's gonna be the two ladies. Then David comes out of the blue. I mean, with an uppercut that you didn't see coming. He like, yo, Tressa, I ain't feeling Tressa. Tressa got to go.
Oh, everybody's getting a homegirl vibe from
and everybody getting.
And of course, Dietrich brought up the fact that we went to check out the spices, and he was like, if I got to force flirting with you. It's not gonna work. It just wasn't. It wasn't there for us.
It wasn't there for her. It wasn't there for us. It wasn't there for them, meaning Dietrich and Tressa. But then we down to our two. We see Tressa go out on date with Joelle, and she was like,
she said, "I've been waiting for that."
I've been waiting for this.
That happened last time. She said, "I've been waiting to go out on a date with you," and the date wasn't a date. It was we got to talk to you.
Well, the last one ended up being a date. Kind of.
It turned into one,
But again, which means she ain't been on too many dates.
No.
Ain't nobody taking out her phone. Ain't been ringing throughout the week. Because we look at it, we only seen her on the Spice date, and then the 2 dates that she, when she's potentially be eliminated, and so we see David and Stacy, which I thought this was interesting. Because she was on his top, and he was on her top, and they had a date, and he goes in and begins to tell her, us and the guys we met earlier today and earlier this afternoon, and we made it, we realized that that you basically not ready to love.
Yeah, it was like too much aggression.
Yeah.
Aggression, saying what's on your mind too much.
Too much freaking frack.
Yeah, too much freaking frack, and she was like, but you want somebody to be honest with you and be upfront with you, and how can that be a problem? And she felt like she let her kids down, and she got tearful, and he said, for once I felt like I actually saw Stacy, but it's too little too late.
It's too little too late. And again, I think he still felt some type of way about the password situation.
Yeah. And
I'm not knocking her for not giving somebody their password when they're dating. I'm not knocking her at all for that. I think.
Yeah, but he didn't say when you dating. He didn't say that.
And if I mentioned when you're together, and so I don't think when you're together you should share pass. I mean, it is what it is. But nonetheless, Stacy goes home. She's not ready to love.
And at first I'm like,
they gave Tressa an opportunity. Yes. Like Tressa gets to be on
Who
there.
Else spoke up for Tressa?
Who else spoke up for Tressa? Like, it was one more week. I know Dietrich didn't do it by himself, so it was somebody else. And then we see Joelle say, "Hey, baby, I just gotta let you know, me and the guys met, and we realized that it's 2 women going home this week."
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, they said 2 women home, like, yo, Tommy ain't never lied. It's a curveball after curveball after curveball after curveball this week. And so Tressa goes home.
And she was teary too.
She was teary-eyed too. Again, the homie vibe, she's good to hang out with, but wouldn't nobody feeling her romantically. Mm-mm. And to me, I just want to know, I'm just curious, why wouldn't they feel
really tried? Nobody really tried.
For what we saw, no one tried. Let me say. What we saw, no one really tried. And so, I'd be interested to see how it plays out when we get to the reunion, or anyway, who really was feeling her, who was really interacting, how she was really dealing with them. Because I think her going home now, I'm not saying it's a bad move. It's the correct move, because if Dietrich was the only one feeling her, and he still lost interest in her,
there's nobody else for her.
There's nobody else for her. Let her go home. Let her go home. So let Stacy go home. We know next time maybe Chrysanthemum will go home, unless there's somebody able to build a relationship with her. Her and Ronald can.
That frack is out the way.
Yeah,
I don't
know if
out the way.
If Ronald can rekindle that with Chrysanthemum, so we'll see if that can happen and blossom to a love. But yet, women go home. She went home. 2 women went home on this episode of Ready to Love, which was shocking.
Yeah.
Which was a surprise. curveball, man, because I thought that freaking Frack was gone.
It was looking that way.
It was looking that way. So now now you're down. The numbers are dwindling down. Now it becomes more complicated now.
Yes.
It becomes complicated because now you have all these men.
And basically, I feel like you're gonna have to cut 2 men next time because you don't want to have the 5 women and 6 men because you're still gonna have the same issue.
And you have a small pool.
But I feel like it's not looking good for Dietrich because they haven't really shown any woman expressing interest in him.
Dietrich might be going home. Dietrich might go.
He set himself up.
He might go home because you think about where they're at now with some of the pairings. You have Joelle, who is Venetia. You have AJ, who's feeling Kyra and Alexis. Mm-hmm. You have Jason, who's feeling Alexis, Kyra and Liz. You have Liz, who's feeling Jason and David. Mm-hmm. You have I mentioned AJ already, and so you have.
You say Ron. We said Ron and Chrysanthemum.
Ron, Chrysanthemum, and Alexis, who's in that mix. You have Amber and Chris, who's feeling each other. So there's nobody else for Chris, and there's nobody else for Amber. So they kind of like, if these two don't work, guess what? Somebody got to go home. So you have all this that's mixed up in there, and Dietrich is like kind of nowhere from what we've seen, nowhere in the mix. And so as we look at the preview for next week, Tommy said, he told the young ladies, he told the women, think about your number one.
Get him on your mind.
Get him on your mind.
And then don't date him.
So we starting to see people start dating their number 2. We saw this with Cal Fani.
Yeah.
Right? When Cal Fani last season, Ready to Love, Adriana was his number 1 at the time.
Yes.
Denise was number 2. He went and gave Denise a massage. Now, when we interviewed Cal Fani, you can check that out. He said Denise already knew at that time
that she was the number 2.
Yeah. So she still embraced it and still took it on. So I wonder if these people this time, when they start dating the men, if the men know.
I think they know.
That they're number 2.
I think they know.
But we saw Ron and Alexis just, golfing it up. And if she's his number 2, well, if he's her number 2, then who's her number 1? Is AJ still her number 1? Then now you got AJ, Kyra, and Alexis. Now you got AJ, Kyra, and Alexis, who has a love triangle. Again, it is going to be interesting for the next couple of weeks. And we don't get Ready to Love next week. They don't return.
Nope.
They return on May the 14th.
Yep. So
that's going to be very interesting. See, took a hiatus, took a week off. Hey, whatever. Ready to Love. Hey, let us know what you thought about this week's episode of Ready to Love. Let us know what you thought about Frick and Frack. And let us know which couples do you think will kind of, at the halfway point, kind of mix up and match up together. So make sure, once again, before you leave, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews or interviews. Check out some of the interviews that we did this past week.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.